Washington mornings on the Mall. 105.9 FM. And AM 630. WMAL.
Good morning. It's 6:37 on WMAL, where Washington comes to talk. Coming up at 7:37 this morning, we'll check in with Stuart Varney. Big day on Wall Street yesterday. The Dow went up over 300 points. And in the 7 o'clock hour, I will also tell you about a travel nightmare that I had recently, and I want to know what you think we should do about it. Should there be a change in policy for fat people who fly on planes? Now, is that a tease or is that a tease? Brian Wilson, joined by Larry O'Connor. Hello, Larry.
Hey, Brian, and we're also joined by our good friend, Lanny Davis. Lanny, Happy New Year. Thanks for joining us.
Happy New Year, and I don't know who's fat, I don't know who's thin, but I'm favor both of them because it's Purple Nation.
Oh, such a diplomat. Well, listen, we're happy to hear that that Hillary Clinton, your friend, is out of the hospital, and our Secretary of State. And but this story, the way it developed, was really intriguing because we're actually very concerned about some of the reports that were coming out, and it felt like we couldn't always get a complete and clear story on what exactly was wrong with the Secretary of State. First of all, do you have any new information for us about her physical health and how she's doing? And also, what do you know about the way this story sort of trickled out and was sort of dripped to the American public?
Well, first of all, I don't have new information. I have been in touch with people who've been close to her, in the room with her, and have reassured me that what has been reported is accurate. What was scary is a clot near the brain. Inside the skull. But when you fall and you faint and you hit the floor, it happened to me once, literally when I was a teenager, and I survived. But it can be real dangerous because you're in free fall and you hit a hard floor. And I gathered that something would happen to her. That's worrisome. The way it trickled out is, what happens. Have you ever been in a hospital? We asked the doctor, "Can you tell me when I'm getting out?" These doctors are very cautious about what exactly is going on, and I think they were reporting what they were being told, and that's why it was frustrating to all of us that we didn't know more, but that's the nature of this kind of a situation.
Well, there was a lot of speculation about it, Lanny, that a lot of people said, well, look, maybe she's dragging her feet, maybe this is not all that serious, and that she just doesn't want to testify on Benghazi, and it was really because we didn't have any real information about what had happened.
Look, in a situation where somebody is ill and it could be serious, the doctors are very cautious, and this was a function of what the doctors were saying. But no excuse whether it's this or, when we talk, I never impugn people's motives. I question judgment. I respectfully disagree. There are certain people, and Josh Bolton should be the most embarrassed of all, Laura Ingraham is another, who not only questioned, why aren't we getting more information? Why isn't she testifying? That's fair enough. But then got snide and came up with expressions about something about immaculate conception.
Diplomatic flu, I think.
It's just bad taste. People have a right to be tasteless. I'm sure they regret it. But when you impugn motives and speculate about somebody's health, that's just bad taste.
Would you agree, though, that in the news vacuum that we were operating under and the timing involved, listen, the Secretary of State stepped up and said, the buck stops with me with regard to Benghazi. This is a State Department issue, and the reports that came out after the election confirmed that there were definitely some failings in leadership at the State Department with regard to the Benghazi response. And then 2 days before she was scheduled to testify, she came up with this, the report came out that she had the concussion.
I can understand that it would arouse suspicion, yes. In the case of Hillary Clinton, anyone who knows her, if anything, she's blunt, totally 100% stepped up to the line and took responsibility. I am very concerned about what happened. I think it's got to be totally investigated and transparent, and the President and Secretary of State Clinton have accepted all 49 recommendations of fundamental change in protecting our people abroad. So I do not belittle the seriousness of this.
So you agree then, Lanny, that Secretary of State Clinton should testify about Benghazi before,
of course.
But as Secretary of State?
And she will.
All right, but what happened over the State Department was you had this announcement that certain people were going to pay a penalty for what happened in Benghazi.
Heads will roll.
Heads will roll, we were told. And then we had this big press conference and press release which left everybody with the impression that people had been fired. But then we found out that indeed no one was fired. They were simply sort of moved around in the system.
You know, in Washington terms, being fired means chosen to resign for the best interest of the country.
Or reassigned.
There's a man named, I wish we could name names here, because there's a man named Boswell who was forced to resign, who declined additional aid and security aid more than once. It happened once in Kenya that was not reported. And this is a man that deserved to have been fired and ultimately was forced out. There are other names that have surfaced. Whether it should go higher than that, the question that I think the Secretary will answer is, did she know that aid was requested and declined at the mid-level of a department that has 30,000 people? She takes responsibility. She's at the top. But that's the question she's got to answer. I think of all people I've ever met in public life, including her husband, Hillary Clinton is fact-based and takes responsibility when she makes a mistake. So I do think she will testify, and I don't blame people for wanting her to. I just blame anyone that tastelessly, when somebody is sick, speculates that maybe they're faking it.
Lanny, listen, I understand that you're friends with the Clintons, and I understand that you are devoted to them and loyal to them, and I respect that. I really do, because in this town it's hard to find. But you can't keep saying how blunt Secretary of State Clinton always is and how forthright with facts she is. We're still trying to figure out how she suddenly found the Rose law firm Whitewater documents in the White House suddenly on the table there. I mean, how did they appear? Can you tell us that, Lanny?
So you know, some issues never die. So even Ken Starr said something was done wrong.
There's a reason why Republicans, the symbol is an elephant, Lanny.
That's a mystery to the then First Lady. I think that they were found in a closet by her assistant. Carolyn Huber basically said that, and nobody believed it because it was hard to believe. It's, again, one of those things that everybody has a right to say, God, that's hard to believe. But when you actually looked at the billing records and there was literally nothing there to hide,
I think you touched a nerve.
You'd say, boy, if they were being hidden, what for? And that ultimately is why the story never went.
And Lanny, I feel like you had a briefing paper in front of you ready for that answer.
I lived and breathed this. And let me go back to what you said. We were in law school together when her name was Rodham. And the first time I met her, within 5 minutes, I thought she was going to be either President of the United States or Senator. And then I met her then boyfriend about 6 months later, about a year later after I graduated. And then I met Bill Clinton. I thought, boy, he's going to be president.
Well, Lanny,
I guess both of them may run against each other.
You were right. You were right about her being senator. Really quickly, we got to get out. But is she going to run for president?
You know, I hope not, because I think she deserves a rest and a sleep, and I honestly do not know the answer. I've never asked her the question. I don't think she's even close to making a decision on that, but if you were to force her now, my guess is, and I have not talked to her, is she'd say, I need some sleep.
All right. Lanny Davis, always good to have you before you've had your coffee. Thanks for joining us today.